How much money have I spent at CEX is a question that I probably get asked on a daily basis, along with people saying that I must be keeping CEX in business and I live at CEX, I'm CEX final boss, whatever. I've heard it all through TikTok. Let's go through what I have spent at CEX in the last few months, because I actually know this almost down to the exact amount because of it's all a business transaction at the end of the day, and when it's a business transaction, I need to know the numbers. In the last 6 months, I've taken my collecting very seriously and very heavily, and I've spent a decent chunk of money on a few games. For example, we've got Kuon over here, which was £620. Rule of Rose wasn't actually CEX, that was eBay. But obviously, if I'd have got it from CEX, that would have also been pretty expensive. I think I got quite lucky with some games in that I picked them up before they hit the current prices, where they've sort of blown up. Like Project 03, I think, is currently above £150 or so, and it was it was like less than £100 when I got it, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure that Project 02 is approaching £100, and Project 01, I think, entered the PlayStation 2 rarity section the other day, even though when I got it, it wasn't, and it was only about 35-40 quid. And then when it comes to the Silent Hill games, they are also getting extraordinarily expensive. They're all approaching £100 now. They're all in the rarity section. However, Silent Hill 2 in particular, as much as the damage to the case really bothers me, that's CEX's fault. The sticker took the cardboard off. Luckily, I only spent about £30 per, because I got them a year or two ago, which was before the prices skyrocketed. It was interesting. A lot of people were speculating that Silent Hill 2 would go down in price because of the remake coming out, but that didn't happen. If anything, it went up. And then Haunting Ground is another one that got pretty expensive, but I got it for, I think, £100, and I think it's like 140, 150 now. Obscure 1 and 2, also pretty rare, expensive games. A lot of games I feel like have just started to skyrocket this year. And yeah, anyway, let's stop keeping you in suspense. Let's go have a look at my spreadsheet, shall we? And if you haven't already, it'd be fantastic if you could subscribe. I upload pretty much twice every single day. We grind it out here. I would love a silver play button one day. A lot of you haven't subscribed. It'd be awesome if you could. Okay, so check this out. This comes from one of my accounting spreadsheets where I keep track of ingoings and outgoings and things like that to make sure that everything is happening the way that it should. A lot of people, when I showed this on TikTok, complained about how it isn't pretty, but it really doesn't have to be pretty because this is genuinely an accounting spreadsheet, so it doesn't matter. It's just all about the data. So I filtered it here by CEX because I have all the different filters from all the different outgoings when it's business related that I have. You got to remember, my job is quite literally buying games, talking about games, all that sort of thing. I literally do not play a game unless I'm filming it anymore. It's just part of the job. Anyway, so if we just highlight column C for the sake of doing it, every single transaction that I have had through CEX is in here, and the date that it happened upon. You can see that there were so many transactions in May and June. They have really, really slowed down over the last few months as the amount of games that I've been buying has slowed down. And I'm actually about a month behind at the minute. But yeah, let's just highlight all of those and bring you over to the sum total in the corner. It will take a while. It's a decently sized TV. So, between April and September of 2024, I have spent just shy of £6,000 so far. It's probably more than £6,000 now because, well, it's probably more than £6,000 if you account for the fact that I've definitely spent a few £100 on other things through eBay. Speaking of which, there might be something pretty cool coming in eBay in the next few days that I can make a video about, or several videos about, because I need to absolutely milk it to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. It's interesting how, as a percentage, Kuon is more than 10% of that. But you've also got to remember that Kuon alone, the videos through that, made me more than £2,000. So it all ends up in net positive. I'm very data-driven. I'm very analytical. I wouldn't do things unless it was the smart move. You know, I don't... Funnily enough, I don't actually waste money. A lot of people assume that this is a waste of money because it's old tech that no one actually cares about. But trust me, people do care. I care. And it's also a good business choice. Do you have a plan, if/when you have for games you want? Will you move on to movie collecting? I love collecting Blu-rays, especially horrors. Stumbled across your channel last month and enjoyed your videos and growth. Thank you, my friend. So, I already have quite the extensive movie collection. Recently, though, I have began slowly but surely starting to replace a lot of the regular DVDs with Blu-rays because the vast majority of them in here are regular DVDs because I bought them back when I was a lot less well off, back when I worked at Tesco earning like 300 quid a month, and a lot of them were 50p per, so it was really easy to fill the shelves. And to be fair, when I was buying these DVDs, they didn't even fill the shelves. They were in boxes underneath the bed. I just really loved owning physical media, and now I've got it displayed in my office. I love it. I just stand here sometimes and look at Digimon and Batman and Dungeons and Dragons up there. It's something that brings me satisfaction and joy. I guess I'm weird like that. I don't know. I already have some Blu-rays, so like stuff that really matters, like Lord of the Rings and such. But I've began recently collecting Blu-rays as I get a CEX, and I tell you what. As compared with buying games from CEX, it is a hell of a lot cheaper to buy Blu-rays. I remember back when I was buying DVDs like 5 years ago, Blu-rays were still decently expensive, especially when you compared them to their 50p counterparts. But really weirdly, there are still some Blu-rays now that are 50p, even though there are 0 regular DVDs that are 50p. Go figure. And when it comes down to do I have games that I have a list to buy, generally, yes. My list is very sparse these days, and it is very rare that things get added to it. But over the course of this year, for example, there's a note on my phone, and what I generally would do is each day I would wake up, I would check CEX's stock, I would check if there was anything in any of the local CEXs to me within about an hour to an hour and a half's radius that I'm willing to drive, and if there was enough, depending upon how far it was away, I'd go and get it. Like I say, these days there are very few things on that list because I sort of have bought them all. These days it's more of the larger purchases, the bigger stuff that I'm like umming and ahhing about, or stuff that's just like weirdly difficult to find or more obscure for no reason. Like for some reason, a non-Platinum Hits version of Just Cause 2 on PlayStation 3 has been a little bit hard to find. The Surge 2 on PlayStation 4 has been a little bit hard to find. Scooby-Doo First Frights for PlayStation 2 rather than the Wii has been kind of hard to find. What else? There's just random things that don't cost a lot of money, but for some reason have been difficult to find. SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 for the PlayStation 3, it's about £2.50, but it's hard to find. It's weird how rarity doesn't necessarily correspond with price. And again, they're probably not even that uncommon. It's just they're just not appearing anywhere near me, and it's kind of annoying. In case anybody's wondering, this is my current list, although I actually do need to update the list a little bit because there's a couple of things on here I already own or have bought, so Judgment, for example, but Red Faction Remastered, for PlayStation 4, Conan for PlayStation 3, because I distinctly remember playing that secondhand from GameStation when I was younger. No idea where that went. Judgment needs to be removed. SmackDown vs. Raw we spoke about, The Surge 2, Just Cause 4. Ninja Gaiden 3, for some reason, kind of hard to find. Sekiro is not hard to find. I have it on Xbox One. It's one of the games that I'm replacing, because I'm slowly but surely replacing my Xbox collection. It's just a case of, it's expensive, and slowly but surely it is coming down. I think it was 42, then it was 38, and I think it's about 35 now. So maybe one day Sekiro won't be a crazy price game. I don't know why it maintains its price. Alien Colonial Marines on PlayStation 3 has been weirdly difficult to find, even though there's about 4 of them on Xbox in my local CEX. Fallout New Vegas Game of the Year Edition for PlayStation 3. Don't need it. I have it on 360, and I would play it on Series X. It's just I would like it for PS3. Fallout 4 needs to be removed because I've got it. South Park Stick of Truth for PlayStation 4 keeps climbing in price, even though I could get it for a tenth the price on PlayStation 3. It's just my brain's stupid like that. Far Cry 5 and 4 I could buy in pretty much any CEX. I'm just delaying that for the inevitable. Far Cry 3 Classic Edition on PlayStation 4 is for some reason decently difficult for me to find in person. And when I say difficult to find, I just mean isn't appearing in a CEX anywhere near me. Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition was in Stafford, but it wasn't actually in Stafford. Dark Sector, and then the 2 Dragon Ball games that were on PlayStation 1, so Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle and Final Bout. Mortal Kombat's 1 to 4, because it would complete the collection. GTA 2, because it would complete the collection. Clock Tower 3, because it's a rare horror game for the PlayStation 2. Call of Juarez the Cartel, because it's the only one I'm missing. X-Men Destiny PS3, because along with X-Men Legends 2 for the PlayStation 2, it's the only X-Men games that I'm missing that I'm bothered about. The Gadgetinis was a game that I played a lot as a kid, and I wish I had. It's, again, a cheap kids game, so it's not going to be expensive. Batman Vengeance to complete the Batman games. Dino Crisis, because it's Dino Crisis. Sitting Ducks and Kokoto, again, PlayStation 2 games from my childhood that I'm after. Tekken 7 and 8, and Sniper Elite 5, because again, they would all complete collections. So yeah. Generally, the way that games find their way onto my list is it a part of a franchise I already own some of? If yes, it usually makes its way onto my franchise. I like owning complete franchises, especially when on TikTok, for example, I'll make videos about owning franchises, and if I don't have certain entries, people will be like, oh, where's this one, where's that one? Although, from a social media growth perspective, it might actually make sense to purposely miss entries out to get people to comment about them. That could be a smart move. I might do that I could do that with Dragon Ball right now, skip out Sparking Zero, and I'm certain I'd get 1 million comments about it. That could be a smart move. I might test that theory tomorrow. That'd be funny. And finally, for now, make an account called Cayle Movies. Would love to see you talk more about movies. I would also love to talk more about movies because I go to the cinema all the time. In fact, over the next 10 days, we're going to the cinema 5 times. The only problem is that whenever I make videos specifically about movies, they get no views. Nobody seems to care. So I'm going to start throwing in movie thoughts into these videos because it's fun. We'll begin with Venom 3. Everybody hates on the Venom films. I am really bad at critiquing films. I can critique games all day. I'm really good at picking out flaws in everything when it comes to games. I have infinitely annoyed TikTok a million times by picking out flaws in people's favourite games like Red Dead 2. And that's not me saying Red Dead 2 is a bad game. It's a brilliant game. It's just that every game ever has flaws. One of my favourite games ever is Borderlands 1. I'd be stupid to say that it's a great game objectively, though, from like a story standpoint or plenty of other standpoints. But when it comes to movies, I don't know why, but I get real blindness to just about anything that someone could have as a problem. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone and watched a film, and then I've got a habit where after I've watched a film or consumed a piece of content, I love researching it when I get home and on the internet. So I'll watch hours upon hours of retrospectives and reviews and things like that. And the amount of times that I've watched something, I've enjoyed it, and then I search what other people think about it, and they're like, I hated it, it was terrible. And I'm like, why? And even the general consensus might be that. I genuinely can't think of many films that I didn't like. It's really a bad habit of mine. So it's why I'm not exactly a good movie critic. But I really did enjoy Venom 3. I don't know. I don't know why people hate it so much. Because I know that there are comic fans that love Null and things, and Null is apparently a big deal. I don't know enough about the comics to know whether Null is a big deal or not. I'm sure he's going to be a bigger deal. The problem is that I'm sure that he's going to be that Null. I'm sure that Null is a big enough deal that he's not going to be able to have any sort of justice done for him because of the fact that it's going to be a part of Sony's Spider-Man universe versus the MCU. He'd have a lot more, oomph in the MCU. That's probably something that would have annoyed people. But I thought that Venom 3 was really heartfelt. Like the end was a real tearjerker. I don't know. I'm a real fan of Terminator 2. Terminator 2 is a film that will make me cry 100% of the time. I think I've seen Terminator 2 every year in the cinema for about 5 years now, and every single time I watch that film, I would tear up at the end. And there was a real Terminator 2 vibe when it comes to Venom 3, and I was like, it got me. It did get me a little bit. A lot of people are like, oh, there'll be another one. I don't think there'll be another one with Tom Hardy. That's the thing, is I think that if there's more Venom to happen, which I'm sure there probably will be, I think that it's not going to have anything to do with Tom Hardy. They're probably going to try to cross it over with some other host or Spider-Man in some way, because that's, where the stories are actually at versus Tom Hardy. Because the problem is that, and this is a real problem that I think Hollywood in general has at the minute, is that actors are getting old or older, old enough. It's why I don't think that Pedro Pascal is good casting as Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. Yeah, he's probably the correct age to play him. But the problem is that he is a large enough name that has enough money, that has already had enough success, that I doubt he'll sign on to be Reed Richards for the next 15 years the way Robert Downey Jr. did to be Tony Stark. A lot of the actors in the MCU that are household names today, that everybody knows, weren't exactly at the top of their game when they were brought onto their roles. Robert Downey Jr. was out of prison. Chris Hemsworth was just a dude from Neighbours. I'm pretty sure he wasn't exactly a big deal before Thor. Chris Evans was just a bit of a comedic guy. They were made by the MCU, and they made the MCU. Whereas now we get these massive films with these cast members that are pre-existing mega famous people. But the problem with pre-existing mega famous people is they're busy. They don't have to work if they don't want to. So why would they? I think it makes more sense to cast unknown people that haven't got other commitments yet, that are good, but that's the problem, is you don't know if they're going to be good. So it's not that I don't like Pedro, it's that I just think that when you're trying to cast a potential main leading man that should last for a while, I don't see it being him. Like, realistically, how much longer is Benadryl Cumbersnitch going to do Doctor Strange for? Because he's getting on a bit, I don't know, I just don't see it. But yeah, I loved Venom. Anyway, yesterday I saw Nightmare on Elm Street in the cinema, and I need this to be a public service announcement, guys. Showering and deodorant are not optional. We'll leave it at that. I'm sick to death of sitting next to smelly people. Keeps happening. I don't know why. I'm getting really unlucky recently. Of the last 3 times I've been to the cinema, I've sat next to a stinker a few times, and it's bad. This weekend we're seeing The Heretic, and then we're seeing Saw for its 20th anniversary, and then we're seeing Juror number 2. So plenty of stuff upcoming. I'll include segments on those in the videos for those days, and I'll see you guys later.